Best of r/malicious compliance episode 105. Subscribe for Reddit videos daily. A couple of years ago, I ordered an express parcel delivery from the UK to the USA via one of these third-party parcel shipping companies. For those who are unfamiliar, they are a middleman and they hold huge accounts with UPS, DHL, FedEx, etc. They then offer cheaper parcel rates and pass some of this discount on to the customer. So I ordered an express 48-hour delivery with one of these delivery companies for my 2 parcels to the USA. This cost me around £100 for the 2 boxes, and from experience using this delivery company in the past, they have a delivery guarantee which offers me a full refund of all carriage charges if any part of the shipment is not delivered within 48 hours. A few days later, I was told by my customer that the boxes had arrived 2 days late. Not a problem. I checked the tracking number and it had been held up at the UK-based air freight terminal, which entitled me to a full refund of the carriage charges. I then contacted the delivery company, but I was told that although I was fully entitled to a full refund, I'd have to speak to the third-party shipping company. I contacted them by phone and I was told that they don't issue refunds for delayed parcels. I explained that this was a guaranteed service and the delivery company said that I was entitled to a refund. At this point, I was passed on to a manager by the call center operative without even asking. The manager was very obnoxious and wasn't bothered that my parcel had been delayed. In his opinion, I shouldn't expect it to get there on time when I had paid such a low price. So you want a full refund just because your parcel is delayed? Yes, I do, because that is what was in the terms and conditions. But you didn't buy the extra insurance. No, I didn't, because the delivery already included £1,000 of insurance anyway. Well, we don't do refunds for delayed parcels, and especially if you haven't paid for the insurance. At this point I was getting pretty annoyed because he was making up this idea of buying insurance to cover for delays. The insurance only covered total loss and damage anyway. So I explained that if I didn't receive a refund, I would simply initiate a chargeback on my credit card for the payment. At this point, he raised his voice and told me, "Fine. Try to do a chargeback then. We will fight it and you won't get a refund. Yeah, your parcel was late, but that doesn't mean you get a free delivery." I ended the call and got straight on the phone to my credit card company. They went through a rigorous process with me and asked for a copy of the original invoice, the terms and conditions, etc. Within 24 hours, they'd refunded the full amount back to my card and sent me a letter giving me the reasons they found the chargeback in my favor. It also explained that the merchant, the shipping company, had 30 days to contest the chargeback. However, 30 days came and went and the money was still showing as refunded. 6 weeks later, I received an email from their customer service team telling me that they were willing to give me a partial refund of 10% to compensate me for the delay. Obviously, somebody hadn't realized that I'd initiated a chargeback and now it was too late. So I replied and politely explained that I was told by the manager, stating his name, to initiate a chargeback because their company doesn't issue refunds even when their terms and conditions say they do. Therefore, as far as I was concerned, the matter was now closed as my credit card company had given them 30 days to reply to the chargeback and they had not replied. Therefore the chargeback was granted. Not only did I never hear anything back from them, but I haven't used this company since. Thank you. Next. Hi all, this is my first submission to the sub and I hope you enjoy it. There's a TLDR at the bottom. Context. This happened a few years ago. I was 18 and working as a receptionist for a community nursing service. As the youngest in the team by a long shot, the average age of employees being around 55-60, I was usually the one responsible for the computer stuff, mostly just simple things, nothing a quick Google couldn't solve. The other staff members were wonderful, and I learned a lot from working with them, except for the assistant manager, Karen. This woman was the bane of my existence. She was 75 plus, recently came out of a 15-year retirement as a receptionist, and was armed with a certificate in business management from a 4-hour online course. She refused to use basic computer skills such as Word or email, stating that she didn't need to learn them again when she had others to do it for her, namely me. In a 5-hour shift, I would spend 3 hours just fielding her tasks. Needless to say, this came along with all the fun personality traits that make a manager from hell. Malicious compliance. At the start of my shift, I receive an email from Karen asking me to print the attached files. One was a PDF and the other an MP4. So, assuming she meant just the PDF, I take the printed copy to her. This is roughly how the exchange went. Karen, why do you only have one file? I sent two. You want me to print an MP4? Karen, isn't that what I asked? A monkey could do your job, and probably better at that. Here, I'm pretty sure she laughed at her own joke. Me, desperate, look, I don't think you understand. Karen, don't try and teach me. Don't forget I did your job for 20 years and now, I could have you fired. Already over it, and ready for some malicious compliance. Me, okay, well I've never printed this type of file before, so it might take a while. Karen interrupts. I don't care how long it takes. I'm your boss and I've told you to do this. Once it's done you can't move on to the other jobs. I'm grinning ear to ear at this point. I get back to my desk and send her an email summarizing our conversation and explicitly clarifying she wanted me to print an MP4, to which I got a snarky reply. Perfect. I spent the next 4-5 hours, pausing the video every 2-3 frames, screenshotting it, pasting it to a Word document and printing. The administrative tasks piled up, not that Karen noticed because she mostly spent her time reading magazines / talking on the phone. I felt bad as this placed an extra load on the other receptionists. However, since Karen was universally hated, they gave me their blessings. Once complete, I took about 100 pages carefully held with clips to her desk and sweetly told her that I'd printed the other file. She looked smug, until she saw what was in front of her. Page after page of almost the same picture as the man moves through the video, some slightly blurry, all in full color. She was furious, to say the least, but I was 1 hour overtime on my shift and Karen knew that would already cause her some issues, so she let me leave. Though, I knew it wasn't over yet. As expected, I get called into HR for a meeting the following week, where they accused me of wasting company time and not complying with management. I explained the situation in detail, and showed them the email, including her awful reply. I also showed them a few more emails and texts where Karen used some particularly descriptive words to insult our staff members, including the very HR rep taking my interview. Turns out, this was the straw that broke the camel's back as Karen had multiple reports against her from other staff members, and she had been driving HR insane with her own complaints. She lost her job the following week. The best part is that this happened on a Sunday, where I got double pay. I took some of that sweet overtime cash and brought in cupcakes to work once Karen was gone. I said it was an end of week treat, but we all knew what we were celebrating. The HR rep seemed to particularly enjoy hers. TLDR, boss made me print a video, complied, used a whole shift and overtime. Got called into HR which added to the case against my boss. She was fired within a week. Cupcakes to celebrate. Edit. Thank you for the golden award. Thank you. Next. Bear with me. I'm on mobile and first time poster. Long post TL. DR at the bottom. I work in a fairly large level 1 trauma hospital on the East Coast. My main job is moving patients to their testing areas or procedures. Take Mr. Smith to X-ray, Ms. Gray to pre-op, you get the gist. Now what I was shown during my hiring is if you hold up an operation things get expensive. Brought a patient 20 minutes late for their test, C. diff caused many nasty symptoms, and my manager told me that those 20 minutes had cost the hospital over $35,000 in time lost. 2 doctors, 1 anesthesiologist, and 3 nurse, big money. Now every job we do is timed. From the moment we accept, put in progress, and complete. All done with a little in-house phone system. We have codes that delay those times for a massive range of things. Everything from drawing blood, getting meds, and patient is not in their room, is on a list for us to use. When we start we are told that if anything slows us down, we put in the codes. Also, if the job was delayed more than 5 minutes, we were to cancel it. None of us did that. If it was going to take longer to put the code in, then it was to do the action. It wasn't worth it. And if it took a nurse a few extra moments to put in a new IV, no one would bat an eye. Well, after this incident we had a department meeting and we were told from our top manager that our times have suffered recently. From now on, if the job is delayed 5 minutes you must cancel it. Anyone who doesn't will be written up for insubordination. Now in my job, insubordination is very serious. You can be on a last chance with one of them. Before this our times were great, we had all been here long enough to know how to work our system, so we gave the nurses time and still kept ours low. However, our department had just hired about a dozen new people, effectively doubling our shift and, of course, making our times worse cause they didn't know how to yet. Q compliance. In one shift I must have cancelled at least 15 jobs. They were put right back in and were finished within half an hour usually, but it still cost us time. And every one of my co-workers did the same. Within 24 hours, I heard my manager talking with some other supervisors. He had gotten over 145 emails from nurses and complaints from patients. My next shift, he called us all back in and told us cancelling the jobs will now only be done with your supervisor's approval. We will go by each situation and see if we can give you more time as needed. I still work here and I still think if my 20-minute delay cost 35k, how much did the hours we set the hours back cost? Don't fix what isn't broke. TL. Doctor manager changes how we cancel our jobs. Gets over 140 emails complaining in 24 hours and has to change it back. Edit: we very rarely used to cancel jobs even if they were delayed over 5 minutes. Normally we would work with our nurses and just wait to put it in delay so that it didn't show up as delayed for too long. Thank you. Next. I'm a nurse. I work in nursing homes, rehabs, old folks home, etc. I do the paperwork that is sent to Medicare. That paperwork has to be submitted in a timely manner or the facility goes from $700/day to $200/day, just tossing numbers out. Don't remember the amount. This is important in a second. I worked for a facility that I loved. The people were wonderful. It was like a huge family. The staff ate their meals with patience. The independent people visited often, and our bosses were easy to approach. Then the bosses retired. At the same time, our board then decided that maybe we would make more money if we hired a management company. All of these changes happened within weeks of each other. They hired a traveling nurse to head up the skilled nursing unit for a year. We didn't react well to her. She never smiled. She would just look at you if you asked a question, and she decided that new rules that didn't apply to her were needed. Shortly after her hiring she began firing everybody. It was like a war zone had erupted on the floor. Nobody smiled, no laughter, no visitors, no family meals and loads of stress. I was the last one fired. Oh, I had been written up. 0 write-ups when she walked in. 4 things like cell phone in the floor, my pocket, drink on my desk in my office, water, and filling a certification form late. Doctor signed it the day it was due but they photocopied it before I had left for the doctor's office. So they had their 3 write-ups. At 1500 on Friday the administrator calls me into his office. I'm informed that I've been terminated. I'm floored. I work my ass off. I am actually great at my job. I've been there 7 years. I'm escorted to my office to gather my stuff. They have turned off my computer, asked for my passwords and escorted me from the building. Here's where the malicious compliance comes in. They called me in to fire me just as I was creating the packet to send to Medicare. I was never able to send it. They never asked if things were situated since it was Friday. I volunteered no information. Remember that timely manner? Well, that Friday was the very last day to submit about 30 different forms. Most were 14-day assessments that literally covered 14 days. Billing friend called and let me know that the default cost over $100,000 by the time they figured everything out. Edit: the passwords they needed were system admin. I ran 2 different systems for the campus. They couldn't access either without a password. As for my other passwords, hell number, which includes the filing one which created a longer delay. TL. DR job fires me at the wrong time and costs them over $100,000. Thank you. Next. Never piss off emergency workers, especially post-disaster. This story happens post-cyclone impact. My team is directed to a damaged home with instructions. Fix the problem. Arrive at the home. Roof completely gone. Compromised wall. Asbestos visible. Oh dear. The homeowner looks like they've been on drugs and demands we tarp their roof. Hell no, we can't touch this job. This building is toast. I try to explain the problem. The homeowner is abusive and demands we fix it. I get on the radio and the problem is discussed. Apparently this order has come from the top down. Fix it. Okay, fine. I call another branch of the department to come out and do a rapid building assessment. He arrives and we enter with helmets and masks. The assessment takes 30 seconds. The building is condemned and needs to be demolished. No one may enter. Of course the homeowner is now visibly pissed off. Another phone call. Police arrive to assist with the eviction. The person is removed and rehomed in an evacuation center. I radio base. Problem is fixed. Don't ever send me to these jobs again. Thank you. Next. English not my first and on mobile, so lots of funny spelling errors coming. Happened about 5 years ago. In my company we have to write up our hers and write up which project they are for. Of course there always is some stuff to do that is not part of a customer's project. We also have nothing like an union. We could create one, but similar companies with one mostly have worse conditions than we have, so no need to unionize for us. At that time once a year we had a gathering of the whole company to do the necessary QM courses to get a necessary certificate and to get important informations, mostly on administrative stuff. That year at the end of the gathering we got informed that overtime without a customer project to pay for it will no longer be allowed or paid. This made most of us unhappy, cause most of the stuff outside of projects was stuff the company forced us to do for QM reasons or to make the jobs of the billing department that worked totally without projects easier. We had some discussions, but management was clear, no overtime outside of projects that can be billed to a customer. They then ended the official part. The gathering was in a rented location since our HQ was too small to fit all employees in, lot of guys working outside. Part of the cheap price for renting was a deal to clean up the place in the end or pay a strangely high price for the cleaning. So in the end the manager, let's call him Mike, asked everyone to carry chairs and tables back into the storage and help sweeping the floor. Would have been very fast if everyone took his own chair. That is where the malicious compliance kicked in. This gathering was a non-project activity and our daily work time was over. One of the engineers, let's call him Def, asked loud, so everyone could hear it, on what project will this go? Mike, this is no project. Def, well, we have been here from start time till now, so our daily work time is full and you just made clear, we are not allowed to do overtime outside of a project or did I get you wrong? Mike, we made that clear, no overtime outside of projects. Def, then I cannot help you cleaning, that would be overtime outside of a project and you do not allow that. Sorry, Mike. Def stood up and went out. Next half of the other engineers stood up and started to go, followed by the rest, the technicians and most other employees, and in the end every one of the employees who work on projects went out. Only managers and the people from billing/accounting were left and had to clean up everything alone. Rumors are it took them 1-2 hours. Fallout/aftermath. Next week all employees got an email informing them, when you only work off project one day the non-project overtime should be clocked in on the next day and the project work of that day will be the paid overtime. Management did not punish Def or anyone else and it was again a good place to work, most of the time. Thank you. Next. Native English speaker typing on laptop. Any formatting or spelling/grammatical errors you'll just have to deal with cause I ain't fixin' 'em. Few years ago I worked at an optometry clinic, selling glasses, contacts, etc. As a courtesy to our patients, if someone urgently needed a pair of contacts, or wanted an extra pair for vacation etc., we would charge them a dispense fee per pair of $20.00 or so. I can't remember exactly. It wasn't something that lawfully we are supposed to do, but it was a grey enough area that we continue doing it and our patients appreciated it since a lot of them only wore contacts some of the time and didn't want to spend money on boxes. And sometimes if someone ordered boxes and they were leaving on vacation or something, we'd just give them the trial pair for free. Enter entitled brat, a woman who was slow to pay on her bills, never ordered boxes of contacts, and only ever got single pairs of contacts. She had a specialty prescription, so her trial contacts actually cost us money, unlike most trials which are sent for free. This is why you aren't really supposed to collect money for them, but we didn't. We charged a dispensing fee, wink wink, and so skirted the rules a bit. One day, entitled brat enters our clinic. She lost/ripped one of her contacts. No problem, we'll get another one ordered. Now, since her contacts were special made and cost us some money, her dispensing fee was a little higher. Maybe $30. Her boxes would have cost about $400. 00 for a 6-month supply because they're specialty lenses. Higher stigmatism correction. For comparison, a 6-month supply for myself typically costs about $120. 00 and our prices were very competitive, less than 1-800 contacts, and we didn't charge shipping if people picked up in store. Anyway, we order her replacement lens, call her when it's in, and she comes to pick it up. My manager tells her it'll be $14. 00 for the one lens, and she flips out, saying it should be free, it's not her fault the lens ripped, etc., etc. My manager listens patiently, and then explains that we always charge a dispensing fee, that her contact lenses cost us money and we're charging in order to cover that cost as well as man-hours spent putting together her order. That's when she sees the fine print on the contact lens container, not for individual sale. Triumphantly, she points that out, and demands she should have the lens free. My manager takes the lens off the counter, makes a show of reading the print, and says you're right. I'm sorry, I can't sell you this. We'll have to send it back to the lab and get our money back. I'm afraid that you'll just have to order boxes from now on. Entitled brat gapes at my manager, then asks, okay, how much for a 6-month supply? My manager consults the price sheet, calculates tax, and says for 2 6-packs, that'll be roughly $405. 00. But I only wear these part-time. Can't I just get one pair? I'm sorry mom, but like you said, they're not for individual sale. I'm afraid we cannot do that any longer. It would be unethical. So you can order boxes here or elsewhere. Those are the options. Defeated by her own words, entitled brat took a copy of her prescription to order contacts online. For the remainder of my time working there, I don't remember her ever coming back. TL. Doctor entitled brat throws a fit about how we bend the rules to serve our patients. Instead of paying $14 for one contact, we'll need to pay $400 plus a 6-month supply costs.